Chalobah has played every game, started every game this season, but he's had 5 different centre-back partnerships already. In many ways, his red card last week is the most problematic one of Chelsea's season, you could argue.
There's just no chance to build any sort of confidence really in the back line.
Hi and welcome to Cafe Barbara in Cobham, Stoke Davenant for your weekly roundup of the Enzo Maresca press conference at Chelsea at the training ground just across the road. Now, as you'll have noticed, autumn has arrived, and it was very noticeable that today Enzo has adapted his knitwear to a very kind of autumn palette, some nice browns there. So his knitwear game is very good, but the question is, how good are Chelsea going to be against Liverpool on Saturday? And because of some absentees, both injury and discipline, that is a big question. And I was quite interested, Jack, to hear Enzo say that they don't have a disciplinary problem.
No, we've racked up all these cards and yellow and red cards, but there's no issue here. We're well ahead of all of the Premier League sort of rivals in terms of picking up yellow and red cards, but it's definitely not a problem. And I think the best way he's talking about it is you sort of go back to the end of last season, Nicholas Jackson at Newcastle, Nicholas Jackson again in the Club World Cup, which sort of put the nail in the coffin of his Chelsea career. And then you look to now, we've had Robert Sanchez, Trevor Chalobah and then João Pedro in the week against Benfica, and he's sort of trying to stand it up as, look, we've had Nicholas Jackson red cards, which are bad and mental and really not good, and we've had normal red cards, which are absolutely fine. They're decisions you have to make as a footballer, and fine, there's a case of that Jackson's can be silly. These ones are ones that you
Sanchez, as you said, both Sanchez and Chalobah, I've got a split second decision, do I make this challenge now or do I not?
But they're still making the wrong decision.
They're still making the wrong decision, but it's not. But I would argue, you're talking about the distinction between Jackson red cards and other red cards. I would argue that João Pedro's red card against Benfica the other night, that is Jackson-esque, I would say, because he comes on and within seconds gets his first yellow card, and then you know that you're walking a tightrope even for the short amount of time you're on the pitch. And I don't think it was a particularly malicious challenge, high challenge for which you got to see, but it's unnecessary.
That he didn't even make contact, etc. But we know with those sort of challenges, especially
in Europe,
League, that you stick your boot that high, you're going to get at least a booking. And it's just if that's a lack of experience of playing in Europe. He's played in Europe with Brighton, but obviously not under the Champions League spotlight. And when you've got so many other issues going on, he was brought in with Liam Delap to be the two that they could rotate throughout. Delap is gone in terms of his injuries. He's going to be out for a little while still. So it's more things for Maresca to sort of sit back at the end of the night and go, right, okay, how do we solve this now?
No. And at least João Pedro is available for the Liverpool game, unlike
the other end of the pitch.
Unlike Trevor Chalobah. Now, his in many ways, his red card last week is the most problematic one of Chelsea's season, you could argue, because of the issues they're having with injuries. And once again, Enzo was talking about they're having eight players out. And in terms of centre backs, in addition to long-term casualty Colwill and
Tosin,
hopefully short-term casualty Tosin, you've now got Chalobah, so that's your three first choice. And Chalobah has started every single game this season. And
Wesley Fofana sort of exists in this.
Yeah, we're not sure. Is he not? He's like
constantly.
He exists in a kind of weird limbo. But because Chalobah has played every game, started every game this season, but he's had 5 different centre-back partnerships already. So against Liverpool, it will be Chelsea's 6th different centre-back partnership in 10 games.
Yeah, it makes it so hard. And Maresca spoke about this after the Benfica game as well. You just cannot get any sort of relationship, any rhythm going. And regardless of what's happened with Liverpool in the last couple of matches, whether they're wobbling a bit or not, whether they've had to rely on late goals or not, they've got a fierce attacking line, whoever they throw out. And they're going to go up against a Chelsea defence that won't have played together before, have no sort of momentum going into this, and are going to be changing again fairly soon. It's so hard, regardless of the faith he has in young players. He likes Josh Achiampong as a player if he decides to use him. Hato they clearly believe in, having spent a lot of money on him. Badia Sheel has been there for a while, but in and out. I don't think he'd started a game for the club since the Benfica game in the Club World Cup, when he started against Benfica in the week. So you've got to worry about the legs in there. There's just no chance to build any sort of confidence really in the back line, and going up against the Premier League champions, regardless of the form they're in, is going to be a real challenge. Chelsea have definitely got what they need to hurt Liverpool when they can.
Yeah.
But they can have no confidence that they've got a foundation to build off in terms of attacking Liverpool.
Absolutely. But let's focus on the positives, as we must. Cole Palmer is one of those 8 players still out, but it was interesting when Maresca was asked about Esteval and his positioning, and could he play number 10, because that's a position he would like to play, and allow different players to play wide, and him directly replace Cole Palmer. Maresca was quite encouraging of that, and sees the two of them on a kind of similar development path.
Yeah, it was interesting what you said. He obviously had Cole Palmer in the 23s at Manchester City, and said he saw this player that was out wide, had the potential to be in the middle and be a leading figure for Manchester City. Then, obviously moving on to Chelsea. But the one thing that you speak to any coach, player, manager about in terms of moving into the Premier League, even from the Championship, let alone abroad, is now the physicality. You look around the top teams. Arsenal are a team of giants. Manchester City are a team of giants. They're big physical players, and out wide you get a bit more leeway in terms of having to deal with that. You're not quite in the middle of all that hustle and bustle. And he said he now sees Esteval as someone that needs to learn the pace and the physicality of the Premier League from out wide before you move in there. And they've got to be so careful with Esteval.
Yeah.
We've both seen the potential that he's got, the way he can change a game, the pace and intelligence he's got. You don't want to, dampen all that down in a couple of games, throwing him in a position he's not ready to play. And
I think there's a perfect example of how the physicality of the Premier League is unique on the opposing team in Fiats, who, for all the statistics that say he's created more chances than anybody else, they're a bit misleading according to people I've been speaking to. But he is without doubt finding the physicality of the Premier League, and he's trying to play in that number 10 position, and that he is a case in point. And this is a guy he is an established German international. He's twice been Player of the Year in Germany, all these kind of things. And if he's finding it hard, then an 18-year-old kid from Brazil, however fleet your feet are, however way you can dance away with challenges.
You're getting booted.
I know. And let's be quite honest about it. On Saturday, if he's in that position, then Konate, if he's defending properly, if Konate can get near him, he's not got near many people so far this season. But if Van Dijk will, as an experienced player, will not hesitate to put what would be, in old-fashioned terms, a reducer in on Esteval to remind him of who he's playing against.
And a couple of bad games in that position can have such a long-term effect on Esteval's confidence, his development. They've got to be so careful with trusting him in that role. He could go in and, tear them apart, but there's a lot to balance there, especially, they can move Enzo Fernandez forward, and he's done well in that role. So that's not the biggest issue, but Esteval, you can see the comparison.
Yeah.
It's more just that it's a very rare thing now in the Premier League, especially at a club like Chelsea, but a bit of patience and they will have a brilliant player in that role eventually.
I'll tell you, if you talk more broadly about the game, merely 2 weeks ago, Maresca was saying that if Liverpool carry on like this, no one will be able to catch them. He was being a bit literal-minded today and insisting that what he meant was if Liverpool kept on winning every single game, then it would be impossible to catch them. Well, that's maths. That's just pure maths. But the way Liverpool have had a bit of a downturn this week, and whatever you thought of the performance of Chelsea against Benfica the other night, that is an upturn. But the fact remains, Chelsea are already 7 points behind Liverpool. If they were to lose this game, they'll be 10 points behind, and that would feel like a really big gap to close.
Yeah, it would. And Maresca, the contrast to last season where they were second up until around Christmas, and he said we can't do it. He's now talking as if we can be in this picture, we can keep up with them. This is a very real test of that confidence. The players that heard last season that saying they can't do it, a bit of a weird thing to say, I maintain, but the fact that he said that and was right, will now have more confidence in what he tells them this year, that they can do it. But if they fall 10 points behind this early, then that is a very long gap to make up, especially against a Liverpool side that, while they've had some problems, where their ceiling is, and how much better they can get.
Yeah, I think with just one other issue we should touch on, and Maresca brought this up himself. He was asked about how Liverpool been doing and talking about how impressive they've been, obviously winning those first 5 games. But for him, the most impressive thing about what they've achieved is that they've done this having had the unspeakable tragedy of losing Diogo Jota during the summer. Now, I'm not sure if he's unique in this respect. In terms of high-profile people, I think Enzo Maresca is perhaps the only person who knows what the Liverpool fans are going through, having lost his own teammate when he was playing at Sevilla, Antonio Puerta, who had a cardiac arrest on the pitch during a game and then died a few days later. And it was. I think we always get so hyped for these games, and Chelsea-Liverpool has become such a big game over the years. I think it was. It was brave and it was very human of Maresca to bring that point. He didn't need to mention it, but for him to say, look, actually, let's try and remember. He's saying this indirectly, what the important things are in life, and for Liverpool, he knows how hard it is to keep on playing in those circumstances.
You will never know truly how this impacts this Liverpool squad, but they're not just dealing with a bit of change in the summer, some new faces turning up. It's something that none of them would have experienced in their careers before, having to go in every day and see an empty space.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, exactly, which is what Maresca was speaking about, and just that constant reminder of new players coming in to sort of feel your way into a new group.
Yeah, so you've got the old group who are grieving their teammate, and you've got these new guys coming in who need to be assimilated, and they may, or try as they might, the existing group are
completely different from how they would have been this time last year.
Exactly.
So much to deal with, and Maresca's right. It is incredibly impressive the way they are going on, because they don't have a choice. Frankly, you can't knock back 10 games because of what's happened, as much as some of them might like to. Some of them might like to keep playing. It's so impressive. But
as I say, I think it's just a sobering and timely reminder that for all that this is a very big game for both clubs, I think, before an international break, to set a bit of a marker before they all split up again. That there are more important things in football, believe it or not.